Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Facebook Live today. So, to all of our mothers, expecting moms, or future moms, we know that pregnancy nutrition can be a really confusing topic, and understanding all of the vitamins and nutrients you need to pack into your diet can be really overwhelming. So, if you've ever found yourself wondering what the best options for you are during pregnancy, you're going to want to stay tuned for our Facebook Live because we're chatting with Erin Stokes here, who is the MegaFood medical director and naturopathic doctor, as well as a mom and self-proclaimed foodie. So I'm Eleanor. I'm the social media manager here at Moms Meet. We're going to be giving away some awesome prizes today, so make sure you're leaving any comments, questions you have for MegaFood, and let us know you're here. So as they're saying, we're joined by Erin today, which is super exciting. She combines her experience as a naturopathic doctor with an extensive background in the natural products industry. So in her role as the medical director at MegaFood, she's had the opportunity to educate on important health and wellness topics like pregnancy nutrition. So before we get into it, I just want to do a little bit about Moms Meet for anyone who's new joining us. Moms Meet is an awesome community of moms, dads, grandparents, caretakers that are really looking for better for you products for their families. So if you're interested in joining, you can head on over to momsmeet.com and join for free as a mom ambassador. You'll get free samples, all sorts of fun stuff, and you'll be part of this really amazing community. So this event today is brought to you by MegaFood, who's a vitamin supplement company working towards a world where everyone is truly nourished. And during this event, representatives from MegaFood are going to be commenting on the Facebook Live below. So if you have any questions, make sure to drop them in the comment section, and they'll be getting back to you during the event as well as a few days after. So, of course, we love our giveaways, Moms Meet. We've got 5 giveaways today. 5 lucky winners are going to receive a MegaFood prize pack, which is complete with Baby and Me Too, which you'll learn about later in this Facebook Live. The MegaFood Blood Builder, Morning Sickness Nausea Relief Soft Chews, an adorable little onesie, and of course, a little water bottle, Liberty Brand water bottle for you. So we want to know, what are some of the key things that you look for when you're looking for prenatals, vitamins, or other supplements? Could be related to pregnancy or not. So if you're a mama-to-be or you know any expecting moms, make sure you're commenting. We'd love to hear from you. So MegaFood is this awesome company that we're working with today with Erin here. So they pair essential vitamins and minerals with real food using trusted farm partners because they believe that our bodies recognize that real food. So they create premium products with radical transparency to commit to organic and regenerative agriculture, and they nourish the body from within because they're filled with all of the nutrients that you really need to stay healthy. So they're cultivating this awesome community of transparent suppliers. They're working to enable a thriving workforce, and they're supporting great businesses, communities, and programs that share these same goals and values. So we're just going to jump right in then. So there's, as I was saying,
Eleanor, for that great intro. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I see people are joining from all over. I see folks, hi everybody from New Hampshire, Michigan. We love to see people joining from all over. So thanks for being here, everyone. We're excited.
Yeah. So there are so many key nutrients to consider when you're pregnant, and knowing where to get them all can be kind of confusing and overwhelming. I feel like there's so many different sources out there that say you need to start eating more of this food or take this kind of supplement, and it can really be exhausting, especially for moms for the first time who are going through this process. So I think it's really important that we have these kinds of conversations, and especially talking to someone like you who's a naturopathic doctor, and really learning more about the important nutrients and vitamins and things that your body needs when you're pregnant.
Yeah, I think once you become pregnant, and for me, it's been almost 15 years, but I remember just feeling like, oh my gosh, this added excitement, of course, and some pressure, honestly, because I wanted to eat so well and make sure I do everything right, like all moms to be out there. So I think that it's really important, first of all, I want to say, be gentle with yourself and know that you're doing the best you can. And this applies for all of life, but we'll focus on pregnancy nutrition. Be gentle. Know that you're doing everything that you can do. And we're here today to empower you with some information and education to help you on your journey. So one of the simplest things you can do, we're going to talk about some key nutrients today, but one of the simplest things you can do is increase your vegetables and fruits in your diet. And I know for many pregnant women, there's also a renewed focus on organic and really looking at where your fruits and vegetables are coming from and getting really good sources. So it sounds super simple, but start think about today, how can you get more fruits and vegetables in your diet? And one of my favorite things to do that pregnant women tend to really like, because sometimes you're just feeling kind of queasy and nauseous, is to make a smoothie in the morning. And I still do that every day. So if you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get all these veggies and fruits? Well, spinach, for example, which is this great source of folate, a nutrient that many people know of, and we're going to talk about in a second, is a great vegetable to put in a smoothie. So you can put in some spinach, some frozen mangoes, a banana, maybe a pear, and some coconut water, and blend it all up. So try to make it easier on yourself. And when you have a smoothie, it's pre-digested because it's blended. And sometimes just having something like that can be really great for women when they're feeling, kind of nauseous. Mm-hmm. But I know that we want to get into some more specifics. So let's talk about some key nutrients for pregnancy. And the first one that most people know about is folic acid, or folate. And it's interesting because folate comes from the Latin word folium, which means leaf. So we're not going to do a word lesson, but that gives you the key of everything you need to know, right? So if folate comes from Latin folium, which means leaf, leafy greens. That's what you want to be thinking about for nutrition around folate, is leafy greens, like the spinach I just talked about, like a salad with arugula. Maybe put kale in your smoothie because you want to kind of mix up those greens. Beets are also a good source, as well as beans. So folate's really important for the healthy development of baby, and it's one of those nutrients. It's a vitamin. It's a water-soluble vitamin. And so when we have a water-soluble vitamin, that means that we need to keep replenishing it. And so you really want to try to get your folate on a daily basis through your diet and through your prenatal.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I feel like just from my research personally, and I've never been pregnant or, I'm not expecting or anything, but I know that there are so many different supplements out there that it can be really hard to figure out which one is best for you, specifically tailored to your needs and what you're looking for in a prenatal.
It can be. I mean, there's so much to look for. A couple of the other nutrients we know about iron, for example. Iron is really important for healthy red blood cell production. And maybe some of the women out there are like, oh yeah, iron is something I've had to pay attention to. I know that even before I became pregnant, I was one of those women that tended to be right on the edge of iron deficiency. And so the great news about iron is that your doctor is likely keeping a close eye on your iron levels, because iron deficiency does become more prevalent throughout pregnancy. And that's just because we're growing baby and we're also increasing our blood volume. And so we need more of that iron. And so you can get iron. Again, I love to talk about nutrition, and then we'll dive into the supplement piece. But it's interesting with iron because some women may say, oh, well, I've heard that you need to eat meat to get iron. Is that true? That's a really common question. And really, there's two forms of iron. There's the heme form, so Heme, heme iron, and that's going to be in animal-rich foods like shrimp, like red meat, chicken, just kind of those classic animal foods that we think about. But you can also get iron in vegetarian food sources like cashews. One of my favorites is dried apricots. I like to balance it out with some nuts, so I'm not getting too much like sugar all at once, but apricots are a good source. So we can do a lot of different things with our diet, but it is true that I think as a naturopathic doctor, I really recommend a multi in general for most people. And of course, always you want to check in with your healthcare provider, your practitioner to see what your needs are. But I kind of think of that multivitamin as, for me and my family, my now almost 14-year-old son, my husband, my parents who try to get, make sure they're taking their multi. It provides a way to cover the gaps that you may have in your diet. So I have a mantra: food first. I mean, nutrition is paramount, and it's one of the best things you can do for yourself and your baby, and this is all about for you too, because you want to have optimal energy, feel your best. Again, be gentle because nobody's perfect. And I remember that particularly in my first trimester when I was feeling pretty nauseous, I had, pretty bad. Like I always would say, it's not morning sickness, it's all day sickness. I feel pretty bad like most of the day. But I was trying to eat really well, and I was definitely taking my prenatal. And then occasionally I really craved bagels and cream cheese. I don't know why. I never really ate bagels and cream cheese before. I don't really like, I'll have it every once in a while if I'm at a friend's house or whatever. But I tell you what, the carb fat combo, something about it. I would have a toasted sesame bagel with cream cheese and I would feel a lot better. And I would, sometimes say to myself, this isn't really the most nutrient dense food. I mean, and then right behind that, I'd be like, it's okay. It's okay. You're doing the best you can. You're eating well. You're taking your prenatal. Again, I see that as covering those gaps in the diet. And I felt better when I ate the bagel. So it's all right. I just think, again, we want to find the ways to eat well and to also focus on a high quality multi. So we talked about folate. We talked about iron. There's a couple other nutrients. Vitamin D is very much in the world of, I guess, popular literature and media right now. We're getting towards the end of summer here, and vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin, right? So when we get sun exposure on our skin and we're not wearing sunscreen, because sunscreen and sunblock do block vitamin D production. That's a good thing to know. So we definitely don't want you to get sunburned out there, but just know that if you put on sunblock, cover your body in sunblock or sunscreen before you walk out the door in the morning, you are blocking that vitamin D production. So what some people will do is they will choose to, get out in the sun for about 15 minutes or so and then put on the sunscreen. So in the summer, if we get that sun exposure, we can get vitamin D, but that becomes trickier in the winter months. So that's another important nutrient you can get in food like salmon, eggs. The sun exposure, it is one of the main ways that we make vitamin D, and it is another important nutrient in pregnancy.
Yeah. So I think one of the great things that having you on here too is we're learning about all of this, but I know that food has this really awesome prenatal baby and me that we really want to talk about because we think it's going to be one of the great things. And one of my colleagues who was a big fan of prenatal MegaFood and all of that, Maureen, she was so excited she got to try some of the prenatal. So thank you guys for sending that to her. But yeah, we're really excited to learn more about it.
You got it. So Baby and Me Too by MegaFood is my hands down favorite prenatal. Of course, I'm the medical director of MegaFood, but I want to make it personal and say that it is the prenatal that I recommended to my sister. I have a sister who's actually 10 years younger than me, and she has 2-year-old twins who are super healthy and doing great. And she took Baby and Me Too. So I just like to, add that personal touch. Like, it's the prenatal I recommended to my sister. And it has those key nutrients that we've been talking about. It has the folate in a methylated form. And some of you out there may know, oh yeah, I know about methylated, and other people may be methyl what? What are you talking about? So it has the methylated form of folate, and that's what's considered to be the active form. And that's great because it's ready for your body to use. And we talked about the importance of methylated folate, talked about iron, really key, that's also in this multi, D3 at 100% of the levels that you need. And another nutrient that a lot of people don't know about that's called choline. So choline is part of the B team. It's a member of the B vitamins like folate. So it's on that same team, and it's needed for the healthy development of the baby. And not all prenatals have choline. So that's like a standout one that we want to make sure to chat about today because you really need it. And there's population studies that show, sometimes people are like, well, I can get everything I need from my diet. But there are some recent population studies that show that people are just not getting enough choline in their diet. And these are like broad United States, survey data that shows that we're not getting enough choline. And it's interesting, Eleanor, because one of the best sources of choline is egg yolks. So do you remember that whole craze of egg white omelets and people kind of like avoiding the yolk because they maybe thought, and I totally get it, but they thought, oh, there's too much fat, or there was kind of a conception because that yellow yolk, and anyone that's had farm fresh eggs or, eggs maybe from a neighbor knows that you can see the bright sort of yellow, almost orange color of that yolk. And that's where a lot of the good stuff is. And that's where the choline is. Okay. The choline is also in, if you're like, no, thank you, I am not eating eggs during pregnancy, which some women might, not want. If we got you covered in this Baby and Me Too, which is also formulated by an award-winning integrative medical doctor who is our chief medical advisor. So I think that is just an added layer of just knowing the high quality of this multi, that it's doctor formulated, also that we have all of these quality certifications. And again, we talked about how when you're pregnant, this takes on a greater significance, right? That you're getting the highest quality food, that you're getting the highest quality supplements. And Baby and Me Too is non-GMO project verified. It's tested for 125 pesticides and herbicides. It's certified glyphosate residue free. It's certified gluten-free. It's dairy-free, soy-free. And I could go on and on, but we got you covered on making sure that it's the highest quality. And again, that's why I was delighted and really happy to recommend it to my very own sister, who, when she was pregnant with twins.
Awesome. Yeah, and so before we jump into a couple more questions, I just wanted to share with our audience that if you're interested in trying Baby and Me Too or any of the other MegaFood vitamins, you can head over to megafood.com and use the promo code MOMSMEAT for 20% off prenatal products now through October 1st. So if you know someone who's expecting, if you're expecting, if you've got a daughter who's expecting, anything like that, definitely head over and invest in some of these awesome products because they sound like they're really going to benefit them, especially now when everything in the world is kind of crazy too. So I feel like this could be a nice peace of mind that you're like, okay, I'm getting all the things I really need by taking these prenatals.
Great. Thanks, Eleanor. Yeah, that's wonderful to know. So it's 20% off through October 1st. Fantastic. So we got over a month. That's great.
Yeah. So we're going to start with a couple of questions. I'll start. I mean, we're halfway through, but we're gonna have a few more questions for you that I personally want to know as well.
Oh, good. I see lots of questions coming in on the side. Yeah. I see the sidebar. As I'm talking, I can see all the chat coming through. So great.
Yeah, it's really awesome that you're sharing all this info with us. But one of the things I'm curious about too, this is more about you. What does it mean to be a naturopathic doctor?
That's a great question. So a naturopathic doctor that's licensed or registered, for example, I'm out here in Boulder, Colorado, and I'm registered in the state of Colorado. So just to start, we go to an accredited, because people are like, what is that? Like, where did you learn, that? So I did my undergraduate degree in biology in Vermont, and then I went out to Seattle and I went to an accredited 4-year naturopathic medical college. And really what naturopathic medicine looks at is what's underlying what's happening. So for example, 5 different people could say, I'm having trouble sleeping. Mm-hmm. But when you really look at working with the individual and treating the individual, those 5 different people having trouble sleeping could really have a completely different suggestions and treatment plans based on who they are, their constitution, their lifestyle, their genetic history, et cetera. So we really look at treating the individual and using natural medicine. So primarily herbal medicine, nutrition is a cornerstone, lifestyle counseling, the appropriate use of supplements, which of course I think there is a role. And so that's what we do. And it's exciting because as we look at the whole person and almost do like the detective work to get to the what's underlying this, instead of just addressing what you see, there's usually more to the picture. And it's exciting too. And if many people use naturopathic medicine in conjunction with conventional medicine, and the two can live side by side, actually come from a medical family. My dad's a retired surgeon. My grandfather was a surgeon. My brother's an anesthesiologist. So I come from a medical family. I have great respect for the medical world. And for me, I really wanted to be a voice for natural medicine and our ability to really stimulate our own healing power. And then when we need higher intervention or more intervention, we can do that. there's so much that we can do every day. And a big part of my personal mission is just really to empower people and get them excited about taking charge of their own health and wellness, whether they're pregnant, thinking about getting pregnant, postpartum, or any other stage of life. We have that potential.
Awesome. Yeah, so it's interesting talking about the nutrition aspect. I know we touched on some of the other really important vitamins and things that when they're pregnant, but why do you think it can be so challenging for people to get all of the vitamins and minerals they need, specifically for pregnancy or just in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that there's a couple different things. One is our modern lives and lifestyles. I think if we all look back on our lunch today and breakfast and dinner, myself included, can all see ways that could have been better, and also maybe could have been a little more restful. We could have spent a little more time, energy, and attention eating. We live in a very fast-paced modern world. We're also exposed to a lot in the modern world. Out here in Colorado, we've had wildfires recently, and our air quality actually hasn't been very good for 2 weeks. So there's the exposure that we're having that really can cause an increased nutrient need. There's also some shifts that are happening in our soil that make our food slightly different than the food our grandparents ate. So when they've done studies on fruits and vegetables, and fruits and vegetables are a nutrient powerhouse and your first line of looking at your diet. But the food that we're currently eating does not have the same nutrient content as 100 years ago. And so we have a lot of good work to do. And that's why at MegaFood, we partner with our farm partners that are really working towards a more sustainable future and a better way of farming, because we do have the power on that front too. So it's a kind of a long answer, but I would say the combination of our modern lives and some of the stressors of our modern lifestyle, and then some of the changes that are happening in our food supply. So again, I go to the farmer's market every week. I buy organic, but I also take my supplements to fill those gaps in the diet.
Wow, yeah, that's fascinating. I never would have even thought about the fact that some of the fruits and veggies just don't have the same nutrient content, but that makes sense though, and it really makes sense as to why you really need these kinds of prenatals and stuff. So when it comes to Baby and Me Too, what really sets it apart from the other prenatals that are out there?
That's a great question. I think that the fact that it's doctor formulated, which is more than just a phrase, the doctor formulated piece means that we have an expert in integrative medicine and supplementation who literally sat down and looked at the levels and the potency and the form of every single nutrient. So we've only touched on a few today. We've touched on 4 main ones, but every single nutrient has been looked at in terms of its potency and its form. And then the second thing would be our high quality and our quality certifications. And then the third thing that is huge, I think, especially when you're pregnant, is that it's just 2 tablets a day. And it can be taken any time of day, even on an empty stomach. And I know for me, again, it was almost 15 years ago, but I was so committed to taking my prenatal. And I remember times when I may have forgotten, and I literally would be lying in bed running through the day and go, oh my gosh, I forgot to take my prenatal. And I'd run, well, try not to run, because I was also not feeling that great at certain times. Just at the beginning of my pregnancy, which is when I forgot. I got in the habit more and more. But I would go downstairs and take that prenatal, and the fact that you can take it any time of day, even on an empty stomach, means that that's okay. Because the last thing you need when you're pregnant is trying to time your multivitamin with your meals, which can be tricky to do no matter who you are. So I love that about our multis in general, that you can take them any time of day, even on an empty stomach. And I think particularly in pregnancy, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I bet that can be nice too. I mean, I know there's the joke of pregnancy brain too, where sometimes you just are on a totally other level and you don't remember those types of things. So that's really great that you don't have to worry about that.
Yes, it is. Thank you. There's a lot to think about, there's just a lot to think about. So that's one less thing to think about. I guess we'll put it like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So are there any other prenatal supplements that you suggest moms should be taking? Are there maybe a top 3 that you have that when moms are expecting, if they should be incorporating those into their diets?
Definitely. So again, really important to stay in touch with your doctor and your healthcare provider, and they will help you guide you towards the best supplements for you. Some of the other ones in our line that you may want to consider, though, are Blood Builder, which is our iron supplement that's been part of a clinical trial. I took it myself. I mentioned that I was on the edge of iron deficiency during pregnancy. So that may be a good choice for you if iron is a concern. Again, looking at individual needs. If you're feeling like you're getting nausea or upset stomach, we do have the morning sickness nausea relief soft chews that are fairly new, and they have ginger and B6, and that's nice because they're chews. Mm-hmm. So that, again, could be a good choice. And then the last is our MegaFlora probiotic for baby and me. So that's a specific probiotic that's designed for pregnancy, and many women actually take it postpartum too.
Awesome. Yeah, and I guess, so I have time for one more question. I'm seeing some questions about this, but then also I was thinking about it as well. When it comes to taking these prenatals, when do you typically stop taking them? Is this something that you would stop right after you've given birth? Mm-hmm. You take them for about a year after? What's the time frame there?
Really good question. And if I can even back up, some women ask about when they should start taking it before. So, if it doesn't work out in your life that you didn't take it before, like we talked about, we're all doing the best we can. But if you can, it's great to start taking, again, talk to your doctor, but taking a prenatal 3 to 6 months before you plan to conceive, up to 6 months, because it's fantastic to have optimal levels of all those nutrients. So some women may choose to start taking Baby and Me too, even before they're pregnant. And then many women, generally, again, talk with your doctor, but most prenatals, it's suggested that if you're breastfeeding, that you take them for that time that you're breastfeeding. So for, like in my case, I was nursing for almost a year till my son weaned himself. So I actually took my prenatal for like almost an additional year after he was born. So that's kind of, those are general rules. Again, for your individual needs, check in with your healthcare provider, but those are kind of like general rules. So some women, like in my case, I was on a prenatal for over 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
So, yeah.
Interesting. Awesome. That's actually really good to know, though, about taking it ahead of time, too. I wouldn't have even thought about that part. So thank you so much for sharing all of this. And for all of our moms viewers out there, please let us know what you found most helpful from this video. We love hearing your feedback about the stuff. If you have any questions, make sure you're commenting. Someone from MegaFood will get back to you. And don't forget that you can head over to megafood.com and you can use code MOMSMEAT to get 20% off prenatal products through October 1st. So definitely take advantage of that. And I guess, too, if you're planning on getting pregnant anytime in the near future, definitely head over there and stock up on some stuff now. So thank you again for everyone for tuning in. And thank you so much, Erin. This was so wonderful. I learned so much. Now that if I ever want to get pregnant, I'm like, all right, I know what I need to start thinking about now. So thank you.
You're welcome, Eleanor. You're such a great host. Thanks for having me today and doing such a wonderful job. And I love all the engagement we got. There was just, thank you, everyone that joined us today. And thanks for your just engagement and contributions. Awesome.
All right, great. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your week. Have a good weekend. And we'll probably see you next week for another Facebook Live. All right.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.